It's another dreary day. We've got rain coming in this afternoon. I hope to get a little bit of pastures mowed this morning, and but we do have one exciting thing for today. Brenda and the girls are coming home from Hawaii, so that's a great thing. Going to be good to see them. So anyways, I pulled my second mower out of the shed, and I want to use this for clipping pastures because my good mower, when you're clipping pastures, a lot of times you end up getting into some troubles with rocks and whatnot, and so I don't want to use my good mower there, and I wanted to get this one operating again, which I haven't used for a couple years, I don't think. So anyways, this is a fairly good mower. I did do a couple things to it yesterday. I actually clipped pastures yesterday. I did one, actually the field that I set up for the colts, I did that. But when I'm clipping pastures, I like to have the shoes, which is this right here, the shoes on my mowing machine set up so that the cutter bar is fairly high off the ground. That way, when you're mowing and you've got rocks and trash and debris, you're less apt to get into it and cause any trouble. So that's why I have these shoes like I have them. The section that I put in, I sharpened it up, but it's not the best. I just took my grinder and just kind of touched it up a little bit and got it so it's cut better, but it doesn't cut that good. It's not good enough to go into some really good hay and cut, but for pastures it tends to be pretty thin, so you're just going around and it actually works fine. And one thing I like about this mower is, for some reason, I'm not sure why, but it's a lot quieter than my other mower. So when you're cutting heavy hay and you put the cutter bar into that hay, it actually quiets it down. But if you're going through really sparse pasture grasses, the other mower is really loud, whereas this one is not that loud. It's so much better. Another problem I'm having is this bar right here. It's a little bit dark in here. Hope you can see it all right. But this bar right here is what adjusts the angle of your cutter bar. And for some reason, it is too long. It is adjusted as much as I can, but it's still too long. And so, because of that problem and because I need some new knives, I'm hoping to go this afternoon over to an Amish friend of mine that has parts for all these mowers, all these mower parts. So I'm going to go talk to him about that bar and see why. Actually, I'll probably take it right off and take it with me and explain to him that it's too long and ask him why. And then also I will get some new knives, and then I might even be able to get them replaced today. And I can show you how I do that, or how we do that. A lot of times I'll have my neighbor do that for me. So, but anyways, I've got to mow quite a few acres of pasture still, and since I can't be making hay, this is a great time to be doing it. I'd rather be logging, to tell you the truth, but the pastures need to be clipped, and the Amish sawmill that I'm selling logs to has quite a big supply of logs, so I don't feel pressured into having to log. So I think I'm going to take the time and get these pastures mowed. I'm going to start down in my oat field, and when I get down there I will explain what and why I'm doing what I'm doing down there. Okay, here we are out in the oat field. This is my oat field here, and I'm pretty happy with the stand. It's looking pretty good. Now, I had told you in an earlier video, well, to start with, if any of you new subscribers are curious as to how I planted this field and got it ready to plant and all that good stuff, I've got videos from earlier this spring that showed everything I've done out here. I think I've shown pretty well everything on in my oat field, and then my cornfield over there, and then of course I've showed a lot on my haying. So if you were to go back and look at some of my other videos, you could see all this stuff that I'm doing. So anyways, I had planted this oat field, and generally when I plant oats, I plant it with grass seed, so it's a new seeding. So I have in this grass seed, I have timothy, clover, a little bit of alfalfa. It's a kind of an economy mix. And so that's planted with the oats. And generally what I do is I will just, when the oats have just started to head, or in the milk stage, somewhere in that range, I will cut it. And I will, sometimes I'll try to dry it for hay, which is very difficult to do. But lately, the last few years, I've been hiring my neighbor to come up, Owen, and he comes up in round bales and wraps it, and it makes a really good feed. And it's just a good way to do it. But this year I was so pleased with my stand that I decided I'm going to see about getting somebody to come in here with a combine and combine it. So there's a bunch of Amish, a bunch of Mennonites in our area that have combines, but they're steel-wheeled. What they call them, the steel-wheeled Mennonite. I don't know what they call themselves, but their tractors and their combines all have steel wheels, so they can't travel over the road very good. Of course, a few years ago I did get one guy to combine oats for me. Probably 10 years ago, and that was great, but I had a pretty good sized stand. This year I just have, there's probably maybe 4 acres here, and so it's not really large enough to justify coming in here with a combine. So I called around and nobody was willing to do it. So I had kind of given up on the idea. I called up Owen, and he was gonna come up and round bale and wrap it. And then I got an idea that I'm really excited about. I decided to go over and talk to the Amish in our area, and of course they do it the old-fashioned way with a grain binder, and they have this big thrasher that they do the thrashing with. And so that's actually all new to me, and I don't know a lot about it. And so I asked this one friend of mine, and he said he's actually willing to do it on shares. So he is going to come over with his grain binder, and I'm not sure if I'm going to run it with my horses or he's going to run it. That hasn't been decided yet. But then he's going to bring his thrasher right here, and we're going to thrash the oats, and then we'll bale up the straw. And so I'm quite excited about this, because this is going to be all new to me, and I'm hoping to get a lot of videos on the whole operation of harvesting grain the old-fashioned way. So anyways, Henry was here the other day. That's the Amish guy that's going to do it for me, and he suggested that he said it's a good stand, he's happy with it, but this one section right here, and I showed on an earlier video, it had kind of been wet and was kind of sitting in water for a little while after I planted the oats. So the oats did not grow that well, and then we have some grasses right here along the edge. So he suggested that I clip this little section before we harvest the oats, so that it won't bother the binder, and it'd just be better just to get it out of the way. So that's what I'm going to do today. I've got Lady and Bill with me, and we're going to go clip that with this with my mower that I use for pastures. And you can't really see it, but way over there in that other pasture I made for the colts, we clipped last night actually. And so we'll get this clipped up and we'll go from there. There, this job is done. Now we'll go on to the next field. Okay, we're back around my first trip around this field. Just to give you an idea how long and big this field is, it took over 15 minutes to walk around it the first time. So it'll take a few hours a moment to get this pasture clipped down. It won't all be today, that's for sure. I'll just do it bit by bit on rainy days, and that's just fine. So this is the cutter bar. And this arm here, which runs that rod, what it does is you tip it back and forth, it puts the cutter bar, angles the cutter bar up and down. That's way down, that's way up. Well, That way up should be a lot higher up than that. And if this bar was shorter, it would tip that even more. So that's what I want to get fixed. I guess I should explain what I mean by clipping pastures. Some years the pastures grow really good because of moisture, and some years they don't. And this year we've had quite a bit of moisture, so they've actually grown quite well. And so there's an overabundance of feed right now in my pastures, and I also added on that one little pasture that I showed in that video earlier that it was a hay field. Now this field here could be a hay field if I wanted it to be, but I need the pasture. So we have it a pasture, and but now I'm just clipping it. So if I don't clip the pasture, this tall grasses that they didn't eat, they won't eat. If I clip it down, new growth will come in and there'll be more feed here for the cows. I've had some years where there's so much standing hay that the cows didn't eat, I actually would clip it and let it dry and rake it up into windrow and bale it up. It doesn't necessarily make the best quality hay, but it still does make hay. This year there's probably almost enough out here to do that, but because of time restrictions I probably won't do that. I'll just cut it and let it lay on the ground. It's actually good fertilizer also. So I'll mow here for a while and then we'll run over to the Amish and see if we can't get some parts. Okay, we'll take the knives over to Brian and see if he can sharpen them. I think he can probably do a better job than I do. I can usually get them fairly well, but I'm going to see how well he can do. And then we'll run over to Dave's and see what he has for stuff at his place. As you can see, I got a few times around. It started raining, so I pulled out. But still quite a few more hours to go. I'm kind of in a hurry because it's almost lunchtime, and sometimes the Amish will quit at 11:30 instead of 12, and sometimes with their time change, or they actually don't change times like we do, you know, twice a year, and so I'm not sure which time they're on, whether they're on my time or if it's an hour behind or an hour ahead. I get them all confused. But anyways, here we are coming into Dave's place, and hopefully they've got some stuff here. Hopefully Dave's here, and hopefully he's not eating lunch. So Dave is here working on one of his buildings, and of course I've got to be careful with my camera not to get a picture of his face. But here we are in the shop. Oh my, his supply is really low still. That could give me some trouble. So Dave came in to help me, and I always enjoy the conversation I can have with Dave. We talk about farming, we talk about equipment, and it's just a lot we have in common actually. And so here we are going through what he's got for supplies, and he's very low on supplies. He had somebody go out to Ohio to pick up a bunch of supplies, but when they got out there, the company that he deals with was closed, and so they came home empty-handed. So he's got another supply on order, so hopefully he'll be getting more stuff soon. I'm not in a bind, so it was mostly this rod I wanted to talk to him about on the length, and we actually got that figured out. And but just we had a good conversation of farming in general. We were talking about how busy it is for everybody and how the Amish are so busy making sheds and running their sawmills, and I said that I wouldn't mind hiring an Amish lad for a little while to help me at times, but it just doesn't seem like there's any available. So anyways, we got everything done here. I wish I could have shared our conversation that we had, but because of their rules and restrictions, they really don't want that on video, so I decided not to show that or allow that to happen either. Here Dave and I are heading out to check out his mowers to compare these rods that I brought over. Okay, we're headed home now. Not sure what we'll do now. I know I'm hungry, so I guess we'll have some lunch. But I wasn't very successful there, Dave's, of course. And but I think we can fix that rod. Simple enough. And yeah, with some sharpened sections, we should be good. Here's another view of this pretty good sized field, although this same farmer is the same one that I had put manure on my fields, and he's got a field over there a little bit farther from here, and it's 400-acre field. It'd take a while to mow around that, I'm sure. Well, I'm so glad that Brenda's finally home.
We had a great trip. We had so much fun, and Hawaii is such a beautiful place. We saw so many exciting and wonderful things. And one thing I did realize, though, that once again, there's no place like home. It's so good to be back home with Jim, and I realized once again that we also live in a beautiful place. It's very different from Hawaii, but it's very beautiful, and we have so much here that we can enjoy. The girls, Trudy and Abby, are going to compile a little video, I think in the future, with some of the highlights of our trip that we may want to share with you. If you would like to see what we did in Hawaii, that'll be in an upcoming video. And we just wanted to invite you, if you enjoy Jim's videos and find them a benefit to you, to make sure you subscribe so that we can notify you when new videos are out. And if you click on the bell, that will notify you. And also, we have some exciting new things coming up, we think, in the future that are going to make some good videos. So just so we can keep you informed of them, make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching.